Everyone thought it was over. The dirty cop was in chains, the victims had their justice, and the town could finally sleep again. But then, one whisper changed everything. The missing teenager Caleb Myers might still be alive. And what investigators discovered next turned a story of corruption into something far more terrifying. This wasn't just one bad cop. This was a network. Before we get into this shocking continuation, make sure you like and follow, because part 3 is where the nightmare truly begins. The trial had just ended. Daniel Rourke, once the most celebrated cop in town, was led away in shackles, sentenced to decades behind bars. Families wept with relief. Victims finally felt seen. But in the courthouse hallway, Caleb's mother was pulled aside by a federal agent. His words shattered her fragile sense of closure. "We can't confirm this yet, but we believe your son might still be alive." Her hands trembled. "Alive? How? You told me he was gone." The agent looked her dead in the eye. Because Rourke wasn't working alone. Investigators digging through Rourke's hidden storage unit made a horrifying discovery. Inside metal filing cabinets were dozens of manila folders, each marked with names, addresses, and notes. Victims. Targets. People Rourke had stopped, extorted, or threatened. But one file stood out. Caleb Myers. Tucked inside were receipts, photographs, and coded messages. But the most chilling piece was a bus ticket, purchased 2 days after Caleb vanished. The destination. A city 3 states away. Had Caleb been trafficked instead of killed? Federal agents suspected Rourke was part of a larger ring of officers, dirty cops who used their authority to make people disappear. And when they started pressing his old colleagues, cracks began to show. One junior officer finally broke. Voice shaking, he admitted Rourke had warned him never to ask questions about late-night transfers. He'd seen unmarked vans pull into the station garage, only to leave with shackled passengers who weren't logged in the system. The implication was chilling. Victims weren't being killed outright. They were being moved. But moved where? And why? The FBI traced the bus ticket and found a grainy surveillance photo from a terminal camera. The image was blurry, but it showed a young man, hands in his pockets, head down, escorted by 2 men in plain clothes. One of them looked eerily familiar. When the agents enhanced the footage, their blood ran cold. It was another police officer. Not Rourke. Someone still active on the force. This wasn't a lone wolf. It was a chain of corruption, stretching further than anyone dared believe. When the news broke, the town split in 2. Some refused to believe it. "Not our police," they said. "Not here." Others were terrified. If multiple cops were dirty, who could they trust? Caleb's mother clung to hope for the first time in years. "He's alive," she whispered to reporters. "I know he's alive." But hope came with a price, because the people who still protected Rourke's secrets were watching her closely. And they didn't want her talking. One night, she came home to find her front door ajar. On the kitchen table sat a single Polaroid. It showed a shadowy figure bound to a chair, face obscured, bruises visible. Written across the bottom in black marker were the words, "Stay quiet, or lose him forever." Her screams brought the neighbors running. The FBI rushed in. But the message was clear: Caleb was leverage, and someone on the inside was still pulling strings. The investigation took a darker turn when agents accessed Rourke's prison correspondence. Among his monitored mail were cryptic letters written in code. Once decrypted, they revealed instructions, bank account numbers, and warnings. Rourke wasn't broken. He was still in control. Even behind bars, he was directing the network. One message stood out. The boy is the key. If they get him, we all burn. Who was the boy? Caleb. Or someone else entirely? To break the ring, agents planted an undercover operative inside the police department. The goal: find out which officers were still loyal to Rourke. It didn't take long. Late one night, the operative was invited to a secret meeting in a remote warehouse. Inside, half a dozen men in plain clothes sat around a table. On the wall hung a map dotted with red pins, each marking towns across the state. The warehouse wasn't just a hideout. It was a hub. This wasn't local corruption. It was interstate. And the pinned towns weren't random. They were trafficking routes. Just when hope seemed faint, investigators uncovered an audio recording on a confiscated burner phone. The voice was weak, but unmistakable. "Mom, if you ever hear this, I'm okay. Don't stop looking for me. They say they're cops, but they're not. They're monsters. Please, don't trust anyone." Caleb was alive. The room went silent as the recording played. Agents clenched their fists. His mother collapsed in tears. But the recording ended with a chilling sound, the slam of a steel door, followed by a man's voice. "Shut up. You don't talk unless we say so." The FBI planned a rescue. They traced the call to an abandoned factory 2 towns over. But when the SWAT team raided it, the building was empty, just chains, ropes, and bloodstains left behind. They had been tipped off. And that meant one thing: there was still a mole inside the investigation. The mole's identity shocked everyone. It wasn't just another cop. It was someone higher, one of the federal agents assigned to the case. He had been feeding Rourke's network from the inside, sabotaging every lead. And when he was finally confronted, he smiled coldly and said, "You think locking him up ends this? You don't get it. He's not the leader. He's the front man." The room fell silent. If Rourke wasn't the true mastermind, then who was? And if Caleb was still alive, where was he being held? The betrayal cut deep. The web of corruption stretched further than anyone imagined. And for Caleb's mother, time was running out.